You got rear-ended at a stoplight. The damage looks minor and the other driver seems cooperative. So you think, do I really need a lawyer for this? But a few days later, your neck still stiff. The other driver's story starts to shift a little bit and the insurance company's suddenly dragging its feet. I'm Chad Romey and this is Chris Blackburn, and we're Indiana personal injury attorneys. And we've seen small crashes turn into serious legal headaches when people try to handle them alone. This video walks you through when it makes sense to call a lawyer after an accident and when it doesn't, so you don't get stuck paying out of pocket, missing deadlines that can kill your claim, or taking a settlement that doesn't cover your medical bills. So when we talk about minor accident, when can minor damage still lead to, if you will, major problems?
A lot of cases. We represent a lot of people who have been in what the insurance company would call a minor damage type case. So minor damage sometimes is going to be even just a scratch on a bumper. Those can be very difficult cases to prosecute on behalf of your clients, because the connotation is that, well, if there's no damage to the car, there's no damage to the person or the occupants in the car. That can lead to a lot of major problems, especially if the treatment has been minor in and of itself. But when you start getting into the treatment, you've got to dissect it. And the biggest advice we could give you at the beginning is, if you are hurting, go to the doctor, follow up the doctor's advice, and try not to avoid or prolong gaps between when you saw a doctor or did physical therapy. Some time went by and then you go back to the doctor.
Yeah. And so I think when we're saying minor accidents, we really are talking about what's the visual damage to the vehicle. I was in an accident a few years back, and I tell you, when that person hit me, it wasn't quite a T-bone, but it was almost a T-bone. It felt like the back half of my car got ripped off. And when I got out, like, I could see the damage, but it was not nearly what I thought it was going to be. It was really just ended up being some scratches. And so it's that minor damage where insurance companies will really start to press you on it, saying, well, gosh, like Chris said, if the car was barely damaged, then you must not have been damaged either. So even for small injuries, though, these medical bills can start to add up. So don't ignore the minor pain complaints you're having just because you think, gosh, I shouldn't be hurt. I shouldn't be hurt because my car doesn't look that bad. And so you kind of grin and bear it.
With respect to medical bills, it is amazing the amount that some of the providers will charge. So generally what we see in our area here in Northern Indiana, an ambulance runs maybe $1,500. When you get to the hospital, depending on which hospital it is, even though it's what seems at first blush a minor type case, you get the bill, or the client gets the bill, and it's $30,000 because they've seen multiple doctors, they've had x-rays to all parts of their bodies. And that bill can be a tougher aspect of the case, especially if there isn't a lot of follow-up care. Defenses are going to be, well, they're not that hurt, there's not a lot of damage to the car, and the majority of their bill is diagnostic in nature.
Yeah. And I think when we talk about minor impact cases, ultimately we're talking about how do you go about dealing with the insurance company, and handling these types of minor claims on your own can be very risky. And the reason that they're risky is these are the claims that insurance companies are designed to defend. They have come up with very sophisticated defenses for what are called MIST cases, MIST, minor impact soft tissue cases. And the reason that they've come up with such sophisticated defenses for these is because it's the most common case. Most cases that we handle do not involve missing limbs or broken bones. They involve rear end collisions that cause somebody's neck or spine to do something it wasn't designed to do. So it's sore. Sometimes it's sore for a couple of weeks. Sometimes it just never gets better. And so these are the types of cases where insurance companies really, really dig their heels in. So you do need to be careful.
I think if you're the type of person that really wants to research it, you can go research Allstate and Colossus, their computer program that they invented in the early 90s. And then they were really at the forefront of the missed cases and the missed defenses.
Yeah. So adjusters are going to be real friendly to you typically, but remember their goal is to resolve your claim for as little as they can. So just be very, very careful for when you're looking at some of the common adjuster tactics in these types of cases. Quick settlement offers. Right? If usually a quick settlement offer is not going to be a good one, it's just going to be a quick one. So if it's not life-changing money, there's no reason to jump into settling the claim for that amount. You wait until you're done getting better to resolve your claim. They're going to ask for recorded statements. They're going to maybe be looking at you for partially blaming you for the accident to reduce what they owe. Ultimately, they're just trying to save their company money because it's a bit for-profit business on the other side.
I'll touch on the early selling offers just a little bit because it's a tactic that's been around for a while, but it just seems like it's becoming more prevalent. And the lawyers in our office and Chad and I, we've seen a lot more of them here recently. But there are certainly times where prospective clients have come to us with their offers, and we'll simply tell whoever it is that I don't think you need a lawyer in this case. In fact, based on what you're telling me, and if you're not going to get any additional medical treatment and you're done, then I would take that. But what you want to do is, before you just take that blind or initial offer or the quick offer from the insurance company, it never hurts to talk to a lawyer, because generally, we're going to talk to you for free.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt to have that conversation for sure. One thing that is most common in these minor impact cases, I think it's more common in these cases than in cases where, gosh, it was a huge impact and, there's all sorts of first responders on the scene and they have to cut people out of the vehicles with the jaws of life. One thing that folks in minor impact cases have to deal with is, again, a new strategy, and it's not by insurance companies, but it's by some chiropractors. So in these minor type cases, you might get a call. I've had clients who have gotten a call from somebody who is pretending to be an insurance adjuster that says, hey, look, we're just going to set you up with your treatment plan. And somebody who's never been in an accident before doesn't know that that's not how it works. And then so sure enough, this is not an insurance company calling to set you up on a treatment plan. This is a calling service, a calling agent, or a chiropractor's office who's funneling you to one particular medical provider. You want to be very, very careful of calls like that. And it happens more often in these minor impact cases. I've had clients go to treatment that they had no intention of going to. I've talked to other lawyers who've had their clients go get treatment that they didn't need, and they were never going to treat at all. And all of a sudden they have $30,000 worth of chiropractic unpaid bills because they also don't use your health insurance. So that's just something to be really, really careful about if you've been in a minor impact case.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things that doesn't happen all that often, but it's something that you've got to be aware of, especially because it's hidden. You have no idea. So along with that, the insurance companies are going to have you sign a lot of paperwork. They're going to be documenting everything. And so at that point, okay, well, do I need a lawyer to handle this? Is this something that I'm capable of handling? Yeah, those are questions you're going to have to ask yourself. Along with, well, one of the concerns too, we hear all the time is, well, are you going to take everything, or am I going to get anything out of this if my bills are taken care of? You've got to get paid, and then there's a cost. And so, quite simply speaking, the answer to that is, well, if we wouldn't be in business if we were the ones getting the most out of the case. But those are things that you as a prospective client should be looking at in terms of, well, what's the cost to me? What's the cost to the attorney? What are you guys taking? What about the stress? Do I have the ability to take care of this myself? There's cases we'll take that are very small in nature simply because they don't want to deal with it. It's worth it to them to say, Chris, Chad, I think I could do this, but I don't have the time, and I don't want the stress in my life. Just you take care of it. Call me if you get a settlement, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah. And there are some law firms, every law firm has different parameters of the types of cases they're going to take in. Some law firms look, hey, if your case isn't over a certain value, our law firm is just not interested in it. We operate a little bit differently. We do want to help everybody out, even if you have a small case. It might not make sense for some law firms to take it, but ours is built in order to handle those. When you should, after a minor impact, there are instances in which you absolutely should consider calling a lawyer. If you have injuries at all, even if you don't have injuries at the scene, but gosh, you wake up the next day and you're sore. It doesn't mean just because you call a lawyer that you're going to be suing somebody, but it's all about getting questions answered up front.
Or that you're even going to hire the lawyer.
Yeah.
Really what you're doing is you're just getting a little bit more information so that you can protect yourself.
Or if the insurance company is disputing who is at fault, if you're getting offers that you don't know if they're fair or not, if you're getting those calls from random insurance companies or people pretending to be insurance companies who are trying to direct your medical care.
Or the insurance companies not calling you at all.
Yeah. Or if the insurance company is calling and asking for things, like they want you to sign some documents, or they want to take a recorded statement. And if the accident involves, if even it's a minor accident, if it involves like a ride share, like a Uber or a Lyft, those can be very complicated. So you might want to call a lawyer just to have discussions about that, or a commercial vehicle.
Touch on the Uber, the ride share. So Uber, DoorDash, Lyft, Uber Eats, those types of things. Pretty severely injured clients. And we were trying to preserve the defendant's vehicle. There was an allegation that she was driving for Uber. And this is one that a lawyer was definitely needed from the onset, because what we were trying to do is send out letters of preservation to preserve that vehicle. And so Uber was there in the background, but the personal insurance was not ignoring our phone calls. And it's been probably about 45, 60 days here. And we just received communication from an actual defense lawyer. The vehicle was preserved, but we put a tremendous amount of work sending out letters and making phone calls to two or three different insurance companies, a personal attorney, and multiple tow yards, Indiana Auto Auction, trying to track down this particular vehicle.
Yeah. So there's a lot of work that can go on even in minor car accidents. That one didn't sound like it was a minor.
That one was not minor.
So that, I don't know if that fit in here at all.
Well, it does, because the question, do you need a lawyer?
Yeah. So when you might not need a lawyer is if there are absolutely no injuries. You can still call a lawyer to see if there's anything that needs to happen. But if you don't have any injuries, typically a lawyer is just not going to add a tremendous amount of value to the claim. If there's really small property damage, if you're not getting a dispute over the value of the repairs, meaning, hey, your bumper's busted up a little bit and they're willing to put on a new bumper for you. You probably don't need a lawyer for that if there's no injuries and they're replacing the damage and they're not saying you're at fault for the accident. So
I touch on the injuries too. So we're talking about would be physical injuries. So I've got neck pain, I've got back pain, or I've cut myself. If there are no injuries, you haven't been checked out, you still probably have a case, but you just probably don't need a lawyer at that point. If you have mental or emotional type injuries, those tend to get a little bit more complicated. Not always, but that's probably something that you should definitely talk to a lawyer about. Well, how does a physical injury compare to a mental injury? What's the difference there? Do I need your help with that type of case?
Yeah. If you don't have a mental or emotional, I guess, injuries or trauma from it, you don't have physical injuries, one thing you probably don't need a lawyer for is, well, what if I would have got injured? Gosh, that could have been really bad. And absolutely, I have clients say that to me all the time.
This is funny because I had a client who kept telling me, well, what if I would have died?
Yeah.
What if I would have died? And
Yeah.
well, sir,
Yeah.
and he's a great client. You didn't die, but I want them to pay for my funeral. But he didn't.
He didn't die.
I can't do that. That's not
Yeah.
allowed under Indiana law. But I want them to. I almost died. I want them to pay for my funeral.
Yeah. So he wouldn't need a lawyer for that, but maybe for the rest of his case.
Yeah.
So ultimately, if you're just confused as to whether you need a lawyer or not, you can always call and get a consultation. Most lawyers will handle that first consultation for free. So even though an accident is seemingly small, it can still lead to a lot of problems. One of my biggest jury results ever was for an auto accident. This case lasted 5 years and you could barely see the damage, but she just never got better. So just because it's minor doesn't mean it's going to be minor forever. Medical bills and lost wages can start to add up, and these are costs you do need to pay attention to if you're going to handle it on your own. And you got to remember, insurance companies are not on your side. I don't care how nice they are to you. Ultimately, there's a profit motive for their business. And so what they're trying to do is resolve claims in a way that makes sense on their side, not necessarily on yours. Sometimes if you have a minor claim and the attorney agrees it's minor, but the attorney's willing to handle it for you, it might still make sense to let the attorney do it just because it's peace of mind for you. You know it's going to be done right and you don't have to worry about it. It takes some of the stress out of it.
Set it and forget it.
Yeah. Most lawyers will offer you a free consultation, and they're going to work on a contingency fee, which means they get paid out of a settlement. Most lawyers do not get paid, at least the ones I'm aware of, are not getting paid if they help you resolve your property damage. Some lawyers aren't going to help you at all with your property damage, but most will at least make some calls or send some letters. But usually those parts of the claims will resolve themselves in clear-cut cases.
Here in Indiana, property damage is, I don't want to say it's clear or clear cut, but there are other states where property damage is actually it's a bigger deal, it's a bigger issue, and lawyers generally they'll get involved in that aspect and they'll make money off of it. Here at our firm, if we handle your property damage, it's just something that we will do and help with, but we're not taking a fee off of it.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you're still on the fence, here's what I recommend. Take 15 minutes, talk to a lawyer, see if it makes sense for you to hire them, see if it makes sense for them to take the case. It could save you a world of stress, time, and money down the line. And if you want to be really prepared, here's your next step. Check out our next video, which is 5 questions that insurance adjusters don't want you to ask. And in that video, we show the exact questions that can shake up your case, stop the insurance company from taking advantage of you, and make sure you get every dollar that you're entitled to. So don't miss it. Your rights could depend on it. And we will
see you there, and I'll probably be wearing the same blue sweater.